How am I supposed to hold all of them for thumbnail? I just can't. They're way too heavy. And I'm gonna drop one and just break my toe. Why am I doing this? Okay, I think I'm stopping here because accidents will happen. Whoever said that reading is not a sport does not do thumbnails. Hey everyone, it's Emily. Today's video is going to be all the big books that I am hoping to read in 2018. Basically, one of my goals, which I will be doing a full video about my reading goals for 2018, and once it's up, I'll link it. But one of my goals is to read big books in 2018. Books that are over 500 pages, which in my head, all of them are considered big books after 500 pages. Although a bunch of these are also combined edition, so they're bigger than that, and other ones have like 1,000+ pages. So big books. I don't know about you guys, but I get so scared and intimidated by the big books, which makes no sense because realistically, if I like a world, I want a book to be huge. I can keep being in that world. But at the same time, I look at them and I know if I start reading you, it's going to take me forever to go through you, which again, makes no sense, which is why I decided 2018 is the year where I conquer my fear and just try reading as many as I can. I mean, realistically speaking, they're scary. You can kill someone with this. Like, this is way too big. And I can't, like, have them in my bag and read them on the bus. Like, I just can't. So I've been avoiding them, but look how floppy that is, though. It's either going to be a complete fail or a complete win, which we're hoping for. So basically, I chose 15 books that I'm going to be including all in a jar and then pick one every month. And in my TBR, basically TBR video, I will be doing that live and I will be reading it that month. The rule is that I can put it back once if I decide that this month I'm really not in the mood for it and then pick a different one. But my goal is to read at least 10 in the year. But again, we're hoping to read more than that because, for example, if there's a series that I'm starting and I realize I love it and I want to continue, I don't know yet if it's going to affect the picking book stuff. We'll see how that goes, but I do want to continue. But at least 10 big books this year. So I'm hoping that doing this will help me get over my fear of big books. Do you feel the same? Because I feel like I'm scared of them, but at the same time, I keep them because I know eventually I will have time to get lost in a big book and I'm excited about it. And if I read it, then I don't have that thing to look forward to. So let's start because you've probably already seen the cover, but the first book is Dark Material Trilogy by Philip Pullman. Basically, this gorgeous edition has the 3 books, so this will be one book, and I'm actually already have chosen, I'm cheating, but this is going to be something I will be reading in January. I recently read the Book of Dust series, the first book being La Belle Sauvage, so I'm hoping to go back into that world because the first book in that series was not satisfying and I missed this. I actually haven't reread this in like 10+ years, so very excited to reread this one. If you don't know anything, basically it's a dystopian world and you're following kids, so it's like kind of like middle grade YA, which middle grade is not my genre, but this one. And I just want to go back in that world because everyone has a demon, which is basically like part of your soul / kind of a pet that follows you everywhere. And I don't know, as a kid, I just thought it was absolutely amazing and I cannot wait to be back in that world. But yes, this edition has 1,088 pages, so very intimidated. It kind of doesn't look that bad, but really it's a very small but heavy book. So I will be reading this year. This year I've read like 6 or 7 books from Stephen King and some of his books are so big that I have been avoiding reading them even though I know that I will most likely like them. So what I'm doing is including this one here because I know I will be enjoying it, and it is The Stand, which everyone seems to like. And can we talk about that cover? Like, how amazing is this? And this edition has, I'm trying to not see any spoilers as I'm doing this, which is probably a mistake, but this one has 1,152 pages, which again, I have been thinking about reading this one because earlier this year I was really into a big kick of like post-apocalyptic type of disease killing everyone, which is what this book is about. But whenever I would look at it, I would be like, I can't do that. But again, 2018, this should be happening, and I like this edition because the cover, but it's also very, I like fluffy books, so yes. I'm sure I'm gonna like this. I actually even started the audiobook a while ago, and then I stopped because it's like a 48-hour audiobook, and I was like, yeah, this is getting too complicated. So I'm hoping to read this year. I can do this. Actually, might as well mention this one because it's also a post-apocalyptic, and I believe it's also a disease, but I don't know much about this one. I, generally speaking, prefer going into books not knowing too much. Some of them I know enough, that's why I bought them, but some of them I just don't have a really great description and synopsis to give you. But you know, basically the goal of this video is just to let you know the books I'm hoping to read. If you have read any, please let me know your opinion and everything. But yeah, this is basically to make myself accountable and just telling you, I want to read big books. These are some of the ones I'm hoping to read. So we're doing this. This book is Swan Song by Robert McCammon. And again, post-apocalyptic, like I said, this edition is ridiculously big because it's a like mass market paperback, which I'm usually not a big fan of, but I got it for really cheap, so I had no choice but to grab it because I feel like most of these books are popular, but not necessarily on BookTube, but I feel like a lot of people put them on their list of like, oh, like all-time favorite fantasy, all-time favorite sci-fi. Also, most of them are not necessarily recent. So again, I feel like it's something I want to see more on BookTube, and the best way of doing that is to do it yourself. So this edition has over 900 pages. I believe it's 919, so it's big. It's very scary, but I'm sure I'm gonna love this because so many people like this, and every time I would mention that I like post-apocalyptic and like disease books, which I don't know what that says about me, but this one and The Stand were definitely the ones that were always recommended. So this needs to happen, and hopefully it will. I've also been meaning to read more classics, which once again, you'll see in my 2018 reading goals, but I also wanted to read some French classic to just, you know, practice my French, and what better way of doing that than reading Le Comte de Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. My edition is in 2 books, which, you know, a book is big when they have to separate it in 2 different books because... But I also like the covers on these ones. They're very classic for that period, and this is basically the most epic revenge story. Yes, they are like super intimidating because both of them are like, I don't know, like 700 pages each. Oh, the number continue in the other one. I didn't know that. Okay. So in total, there's 1,454 pages together. That's a lot of them pages. I might actually choose this one purposely during the summer. We'll see what my rules will be, but yeah, I'm excited to read this one. Epic revenge story. I have heard the story a lot and I have seen the movies and everything, but this is something that I think a lot of people would enjoy. I feel like I started reading it as a kid for some reason. I was really into French classics and I had read a bunch, so I don't remember them very well. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna read French classic, might as well read them in French, right? Speaking of classic, I also wanted to read Emma by Jane Austen because I had started a few of her other books. The only one I've ever finished was Pride and Prejudice, and once again, I had tried to read some of her other books in English when I was just starting to learn English, which, don't do that to yourself. But I got these gorgeous edition last year and I still haven't picked them up. So this one is happening because it's over 500 pages and it has 574 pages. I believe this one is also one of the books that is one of her most popular ones. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen the movie. I believe there's a movie. So I will be avoiding doing that until I have read it and then compare, because sometimes they're better, sometimes they're not. We shall see. But yeah, totally got this because of the edition and it just feels very comfortable, so it's gonna be a fun read. Because yes, I judge my books on how fun they are to read. I'm gonna do the rest in category because it's either epic fantasy or sci-fi. Basically my usual genre. The first one is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch, which I think I haven't been mentioned more a series than this, like in my comment section, because of all the problems I've had with some other epic fantasy book with their female characters. And I kept being told that this one has some really badass ones, like a pirate one, I believe, which I can't deal. Like, that's why I'm adding it to my list. I need to read this year. This series has been like everywhere. The 4th book is coming out this year. I just need to read it. And this edition has 530 pages, so it's still considered a big book. I think I will be flying through this one, and I will most likely end up buying the other ones and reading them, which... Does that still count in my total number of 10? You can vote about this in the comment section, but in my head, I want to at least read 10 big books. And I guess they don't really have to be in this list, but I will try to still read the ones on this list because it's just that, I mean, technically, if I feel like I need to read all 4 in 1 year, I will do that. I won't force myself to read the other ones, but I still want to read the other ones, so. But yeah, epic fantasy needs to happen. A lot of people say that the characters are really funny and everything, so This one I recently showed in a haul, and I think the response in the comment section was super intense. Everyone was saying that this is absolutely amazing, but no one talks about it on BookTube, so very excited to hear that it's going to be as good as I'm hoping for. And the first book in that series is The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett. I believe it's the Demon Cycle? But it's a series. I believe the 5th one just came out last year, so, well, in 2017. We're still in 2017, Emily. But yeah, a lot of people were telling me how amazing this series is, and this one has just over 500 pages. Again, it's like 444, so it still counts. And once again, if I really love this one, I will most likely just binge the series until I read them all, and I don't know if I will count them or not. Again, you can vote. Then I have a few more that are like multiple books in one edition, which I might come to regret this decision or not. The first one is probably like a classic, which once again isn't mentioned that much on BookTube, and it is the Bulgarian series. The volume 1 has the first 3 books all in one. I don't know anything about this. I know a lot of people like have like nostalgia when they read this, so I don't know if it's like more YA than adult, but this edition has 644 pages. All I know is that it's fantasy, and I believe there's magic, which is literally all you need to tell me for me to want to read a book, so. The next one is also a 2-in-1 edition, and it is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan, which is the volume 1 of the Rarya Revelations. I have never read any of his books, but they seem to be really popular for like fantasy readers. And I believe this one, it's a bit hit and miss. People either really love the like friendship humor that happens in here, some people hate it. We'll see where I stand there, but I'm hoping I'm gonna like this, obviously. And this edition has 600 and... No, those are like explanations for name. You know it's a fantasy series when they have to explain some terms. You just do. This one has 649 pages, so it's a big win. I believe this one is a mix between sci-fi and fantasy. I believe the author in general tends to do that, and this edition is like the whole series in one book. Which I'm already dreading the month that I'm gonna pick this one, because really, will I be able to read anything else? I'll probably struggle to do so. But it's the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I want to read that could have hurt my toe. I want to read her newest series, but I feel I always prefer to read like the older work and then work my way through, because usually the newest stuff is the best stuff, so kind of need to go through this first. I don't need to, you really don't, but I just want to. And I believe this one has 3 books, but then there's a few standalone, like a few novella too. I think everything is included in this one, actually. So I believe technically this is considered 4 books, but I think it's a trilogy and then 1 novella. And this edition has 14,042 pages. Ouch. Like, this is like, yeah, gonna be one of the only books that I read that month, but we're okay with it, right? If I love it, this is gonna like be amazing to have all in one book, but if I hate it, it's gonna take forever. Or I could DNF it. And then the rest are sci-fi books. The most recent one, I believe, is this one, which is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This has been made into a TV show, which I've been avoiding. It's the Expanse series. So I haven't watched this. I don't know if it's as good as the book or whatever, but I believe there's like 6 books that are out from this series. This edition has 561 pages, but like this is a big book. Like this is a big book. And I feel like a lot of people have been mentioning and talking about this one, so I want to see for myself if I'm gonna like it. I don't know much about it except epic sci-fi stuff, which honestly, this is just enough to convince me. And then the 3 other ones are like older sci-fi, I believe, which I don't know much about, but I have seen a lot on the list of like, you know, best sci-fi to read ever. Mind exploding, blah, blah, blah. You know how the authors list. It's always super dramatic. So those are the books that I picked up recently that I've been wanting to read that are over 500 pages. So the first one is Children of Time by Adrian Cheskowski. And I believe this one you're following the last people from Earth that just escaped the planet because everything was dying out. And then they follow a map to like a new planet. But the new planet might not be a place that is good for us. I told you, I don't know much about these books. But this is what I've heard about this one, and I've heard great things. And then the last 2, again, really don't know anything about. The first one is Anathema by Neil Stevenson, which I've heard so many people mention, but I don't know anything about. And the other one is Pandora's Star by Peter F. Hamilton, which I've heard a lot of people just mention the author being like someone that writes a lot of like popular sci-fi, like older sci-fi, actually. Maybe I'm saying older and it's not even that old. 2004? Is that considered old? Probably not. I feel like nowadays everyone talks about the newest books, so maybe it's considered old. And this one is 2008. That is not old. That is not. I'm taking that back. And again, this one is like a glossary, so you know it's a real thing. But there's over 900 pages. Again, it's a mass paperback edition, which I got for like 25 cents. But I mean, still big. And this one also has almost 1,000 pages, so they're big boys, okay? So those are the 15 books that will be all added into a jar, and every month I will be picking one. I may choose more than one, and I will be reading that one, or at least try. If, for example, one day I pick up The Stand and I'm like, you know what, this month I'm really not in the mood for anything horror-y or like post-apocalyptic, I just can't deal, then I'll just put it back and put another one. But I can't do it more than one. So if I pick a book twice, then the second time I have to read it that month, so have to. So I'm very excited to read all them big books this year. I don't know how it's gonna go. Maybe I'll get discouraged, maybe I'll be super proud of myself for finally reading all those books. We'll see how that goes. Are you planning anything with big books this year? Any big books that you like? Have you read any of these? What do you think about them? So don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe because you don't want to miss out on me struggling to read all those big books. I will be putting on the screen some other videos that I've done recently, including my end of the year series, which I've had a lot of fun sharing, my worst, best books of the year, most disappointing, most surprising, etc. So definitely recommend checking those out if you haven't, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!